Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Very good. I hear you loud and clear.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, definitely. It's great to be able to talk to you and be able to talk about some great music that's going to be coming out at the end of the month. I've gotten the chance to be able to check out this album for a bit of time now, and it just feels so rock solid. I really love what's going on here. It just feels like a great Bonafide album and something that we could really use in 2023.
Thank you very much. We're very pleased with it. Also, it was a pleasure to work with the great producer Chips Keesby again, who did our best album up to date back in 2008. You know, the Something's Dripping album with a lot of our minor hits. So it was great to work with him again, and I get that fat sound. It's the you know the depth in the sound makes it easier to play less and make it sound bigger. So very happy with it.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff, and I love the variety that goes on there as well too. I mean, you got the great fast stuff that goes on there, the mid-tempo stuff, the slower stuff. Like it just
Mm,
feels like it was perfectly crafted as an album rather than just a collection of songs. I mean, the track listing matters so much, and I'm glad that that still plays a factor because it feels like it was meant to be in this order.
exactly. It was really meant that way. And the producer, we I think we had 11 songs and one didn't make it. And then he was missing one type of song, and he said, "Can you write a song in that particular tempo? It would fit the sequence so good." So I did. So you're absolutely right. It's done that way with a LP in mind as well, an A side and a B side.
Yeah, it definitely has that feel behind it. And I
Mm,
imagine when you pick up the vinyl version of this, like it just fits so perfectly to be able to switch sides and then it just feels so good from there.
yeah, and I haven't seen it yet, but I just got the message, got a mail from the record company that the vinyl has arrived. So looking forward to go down there and check it out.
Oh, so cool.
And I know
And
it's going to sound good because it's mastered especially for vinyl and CD for the CD and digital for digital. So
yeah, and that's such a great way to do it too. I mean, no matter the format that you listen it to, you're trying to get the best version possible for it. But
yeah, yeah,
that vinyl feel behind it. I mean, there's just something behind that warmth to be able to get that in the vinyl, being able to have the
mm,
right speakers behind that. That's just going to be absolutely killer.
yeah, absolutely. And it was mastered down on analog on tape, so it's really meant to be played on vinyl. So like in the olden days.
Oh, that's so great to hear that. I mean, I know it can be spendy, but that's so worth it when you're able to get that real sound in the
Mm,
vinyl.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And also along with that, speaking of the vinyl, the album
Mm,
cover just feels like it'd be so perfect to look at that in a vinyl setting. I mean, just the colors
mm,
that's used and everything, it just looks like it'd be so vivid and colorful.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's a great company who made it in Spain, actually, called Branca. Done a lot of Swedish stuff. My girlfriend's band Thundermother and Imperial State Electric and Danko Jones. And really good, solid guys working there. You know, we just had the little idea with old speakers sounding, you know, like and the title "Are You Listening?" And then they came up with this, and you guys will see it soon.
Oh, oh, very cool. So, thinking about that, how did the writing process begin for the new album?
Uh, for the first time in a long time, I didn't write everything myself. So about 40% this time around was written by Anders Rosell, the other guitarist, and then we piled it together, so to speak. So we made it happen in the rehearsal room. Like he was shooting out ideas and let's try this. And so it was a joint venture this time, more than just me, as it usually is. So I think that's because that's why it's so varied and good as well. It's not all down to one person. It's a joint effort.
Oh yeah, and that can definitely help in the right circumstances, especially when you have someone who's capable of writing some great
Mm,
music.
absolutely.
So
And it's
what?
like uh, everybody wants to hear a new Dirtbound, our most famous song. Uh, but I've already written that song, so I can't write it again. But Anders hasn't wrote that song, so he did his take on it, and that became Hero to Zero. So that's perfect, and it's the first single off of the album. It's
Yeah,
good.
and what an impact that was too. Like hear that as the first single, it felt right, and
Mm,
a good representation of the album without giving everything away. And like
mm,
I've talked about, it's just like that's not it doesn't give everything away on the album. Like there's so
mm.
much more to dig into, but it's a great first impact.
Yeah, thank you. We think so too. And the next single is kind of special. It's actually in Swedish. It's a duet with me and a famous Swedish artist called Misse Hellberg from a classic Swedish band called Wilmer X. And we do a duet in Swedish. So for you guys, it'll be a Swedish chef. Hurdy birdie, scurdy birdie, hurdy birdie. But that's a new direction as well. The song is like a kind of an AC/DC homage kind of song, but it's in Swedish.
So how did that come together?
um, how did that come together? Well, I've done some background vocals on some of his albums. This artist friend of mine, and at an after party after they played a big Stockholm show, I asked him, "Would you like to do a duet with me if I came up with a song?" And he said yes. So I had to write a song, and I did. Actually, hungover the morning after, I wrote the song in like half an hour, and then while he was going back to Malmo, southern Sweden, where he lives and where I'm from, he got the demo before he got home the day after, and he loved it. So here we are.
Oh, that is just so cool. I love the
Yeah.
fact that the things can just come together that quickly, and it just
Mm,
the plan just comes together just so perfectly like that.
yeah. When you're real focused, it can happen.
Oh, for sure. So, you mentioned before that one song did not make it onto the
Mm.
album, and then you were continuing to work with that. Like, how does it go about deciding like what tracks aren't going to make it into an album?
Well, first and foremost, it's down to the producer. So Chips Keesby in this, we buy him on to take decisions like an outside man, and he did the same on the 2008 release, Something's Dripping. There was a song that didn't make it, but it did make it on when we had an extra copy out there, from so, but this song we skipped it. It wasn't good enough. So he asked me to write another one, and I did, and that was a good one. So
Which one was that?
that was he wanted a really fast song. So it's the kind of Motorhead ish song. I was dealt a bad hand.
Yeah, I was gonna say that feels like the fastest song on the album, and it just has
Yeah.
it does have that great Motorhead feel behind it.
Mm,
I really love that one.
yeah. Thank you.
Oh, y-
A little nod to Ace of Spades. I
oh,
was dealt a
definitely.
bad hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I mean the lyrics can be so relatable when it comes to Ace of Spades when it comes to that nod, and
Mm,
it works in real
yeah.
life as well too.
Mm,
I mean, that's what I've always appreciated about Bonafide is the fact that it's like so many songs just like they feel so good to listen to. Like you can just like kick back and relax. You can party to them when
mm,
it's in the live show. Just being able to experience that live and just
mm.
having a good time with it. And this album is no exception. I mean, the highs, the lows, everything that goes into it, like all of it just feels so good.
Thank you so much. And when it comes to the lyrics on this one, it's kind of special to Dan Baird, a good friend of mine from Georgia Satellites. We were out on tour because I'm a drummer of Jason and the Scorchers from Nashville as well, and we did a UK tour with Kentucky Headhunters and us and Dan Baird's Homemade Sin. And I asked him to look through all the lyrics for this album, So we had an afternoon in his hotel room and digging into it, and I would phrase that way, make it more American and not so Swinglish. That can happen, as you know, being it my second language. So he helped out a lot. And on the album, it just said, "Damn Baird, Lyric Police." So that's fun and makes the album even better.
Is there like any particular examples that you can think of what he did?
Well, he changed something on all songs except for maybe three. But what's the name of that song? No Absolution. That one, he really changed a lot on the chorus. We made it a new chorus. I had two phrases like that came back. So 1 2 1 2. We made it 1 2 3 4 instead, and that was his making. Made it even better.
Yeah, and I mean that song definitely hits hard, and it's great to
Mm,
see how the collaboration can really work. I mean, outside help,
yeah.
one's in the band. I mean, it's so important. I mean, especially when you're songwriting and you're able to trust people to be able to make the songs even better. And when you can get that
Mm,
help, it's just such a
yeah.
great feeling.
It's all for the good of the song. It's easy as that. If it makes the song better, it doesn't matter who comes up with the idea. Like Chips Keesby, the producer, he came up with a lot of ideas. Like, cut that, let's go to the chorus instead of skip the bridge, double bridge, a lot of that. So it's good.
Oh, very much
The
so.
open ears to make it a good as product as possible.
So, in speaking of that, what was it like to go into the studio to record this?
That was really nice because we were back to that same old studio in Gothenburg where we recorded that 2008 release. And this time we recorded everything live except for vocals and guitar solos and maracas. So it's, and you can feel it. It's the live nerve of a live gig. It's there. It's both guitars, bass, and drums all together, same take. So that makes it uh, different from the previous studio albums where we like copy paste it like everybody does. The studio in Gothenburg is so big, so you can really, there are several rooms to get the real fat drum sound, and you can put the guitars in one room, and so it's possible to record live. And we had a
And
good vibe there, so yeah.
yeah, and I miss that so much. I miss that live
Mm,
feel. I mean,
mm,
it's great to have things sound as perfect as possible, making sure that you hit every note perfectly and
mm,
everything. But when you're able to have that real live sound, it feels like the band's
mm,
actually playing instead of just
mm.
being isolated into different rooms. It just
Yeah,
has a different feel behind it, and you definitely feel that on this album. Like it
no,
feels
that's
like you were
great.
all together.
Success. Yeah, but people usually tell us, we love your albums, but you're so much better live. So that's why we try to like, let's try to make it live in the studio. Apparently, we succeeded with that. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and of course, and the great thing with it is it feels like every song on the album can be played live. I mean, there's no filler
Mm,
whatsoever on this album. It just feels like
mm,
anything can be incorporated into the set list.
yeah, absolutely. We're going to start with four of the songs for the first gigs, and then so it's not too much for me to learn, lyric wise. I don't want to have like texts on the monitors and stuff. So I need to know it by heart.
Oh, for sure. So thinking about that a little bit deeper, like how does that go into the set list? Like, every album cycle, what is that like for you to be able to change things up like that?
It's great, and it's like what do we lack in the set we have with all classics, so to speak, that we need to play all shows. So maybe sometimes you can take out one of those and put in a new one that's in similar style. And usually we have a set list, but it varies a lot from where we play or how long the set is, and if it's a headline show or a support show or whatever.
Oh yeah, and there's so much that can go into that as well too. And
Mm,
from every set that I've checked out to be able to see what you play, it always feels like it's
mm,
the right set at the right time. Like, obviously some things can be changed around, but I love the
mm,
mix of like the newer stuff, the classic stuff,
mm.
everything in between. It feels like you always do it right.
Yeah, I think so. And it all comes down to what the audience like. We're there for the audience. No audience, no gig. But it's actually can be hard when you feel much for a new song and you play it live and it gets no response, and you try it maybe maximum 3 shows. If it gets no response, then out the door. And it could be one of my favorites, but the audience decide what they like. Of course, we're not there to play for ourselves. We're there to play for the audience.
So thinking about that, is there like any songs that you're particularly kind of surprised is over so well in the live setting? Like any newer songs or anything like that?
Well, we just started playing Hero to Zero, and that goes down very, very well instantly. And we did, we live in different parts of the country. Me and the drummer live in Stockholm. The others live down south, and so we can't rehearse. So uh, we in our mail thread, it's like, okay, let's try this song for next show, and then everybody listens to it, and then on sound check we play through it once, and then we do it live. If it doesn't suck too much during sound check. And with Hero to Zero, we played it once, and then it just flew. It's like we've played it 1,000 shows. It's already that deep in the pocket, and that's not common. So I would say that song is very special. It'll be in the live set forever.
And it is just that good of a song, and I'm glad to see that it is getting the reception that it does. And that's got me excited for the 27th when everyone is able to check out the full album and they're able
Mm,
to experience their favorite songs, what they want to
yeah,
hear, and what'll happen in the future.
yeah, absolutely.
So thinking about that, like, what are the plans going forward after the release of the album?
We start touring in Sweden first and foremost. Uh, that weekend when the album is released. So I think we have maybe 12 shows in Sweden up until Christmas, and then there's a couple of festivals in spring, and we're looking at. We're still skipping UK because of Brexit, as you've probably heard of. It's a hassle, It's as hard as getting into the States to tour with all the papers you need to have, and so I think we'll do a Spanish tour and go into Germany because it's so easily. We can just take the bridge over to Denmark and then one boat, and then you're in Germany. Like an hour from that border is the major towns, and so it's great. It's easy. So Europe next year, Sweden after the release, I think.
Oh, very cool. And I'm glad you're hitting so many parts of Europe as well too.
Yeah.
When you do that, do you like a noni notice any changes like in the sets of like does like Spain like a particular song more than Germany, more than Sweden, anything like that?
No, not like that. But the audience in Spain is like beyond. It's like, what? Maybe because they don't have as much good bands in their own right. Every band sings in Spanish, so no international acts in that way. They're so glad that when we come over, and every band I talk to feels the same. Touring Spain is like heaven. It's long distances to gigs, but the audience is magic. So that's great. But song wise, I don't think doesn't vary that much. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to see like the reception like that, especially like in Spain and
Mm,
the countries that don't always get like international bands like that. So that's
mm,
very cool to see. Also going back a little bit, you mentioned the fact that you're not always able to practice or rehearse together, and sometimes it's during the sound check. Like, how do
yeah.
you prepare? Like, is it a lot of practicing from home or when you're on the road? Like, how does that work for you in particular?
I'm sitting with the damn lyrics and as we speak, I'm sitting with the damn lyrics. That's the hardest part. The riffs, they come easy, and then to play them and sing them at the same time and have it not being hard. That's what I do personally. So I sit and go through it every day, so it feels like, so I don't have to think when I sing and play, so I can concentrate on the audience. So that's what I do, and I think the others, they just listen to the songs, and they have Martin on bass and Anders on guitar. They have the background lyrics, so they need to do the same as me, like for the background and getting the riffs and not being scared and lose some of it. And Niklas is driving his car and listening to the music, I think.
Oh, that's so great. I love the different approaches that go along with it, but the fact that you do care so much to make sure that you get the lyrics right, you get the notes right, you get everything going in there, because it can be so easy to fake it, it can be so easy to not care about it. But I love the fact that all of you care so much to make sure that you're giving the best show possible and making it in that real live setting.
Yeah, that's right. So it's always been like that. You don't do a bad show. You're never too drunk on stage. You always show respect. If you have a, so to say, lousy show with only 30 people coming, it's not those 30 people's fault. It's the other 370 that didn't come. So those 30 people need to get a really good show, as good as if there were 400 people in the room. And we always do that. That's in the DNA of Bonafide and whatever I do musically.
That's the perfect sign of musicians and artists that truly care about the people that go out and support them. I mean, it goes both ways. The fans go out to support you, you go out and support the fans. I love that that's still a part of the DNA.
Exactly.
Oh, awesome. Well, I think that's a perfect way to end, like being able to, appreciate the fans. I mean, there's so much to look forward to with the upcoming touring for the rest of the year and into next year as well. And of course, are you even listening, coming out at the end of the month through Sound Pollution. I love what you guys are doing on this album. It just feels like another classic, solid Bonafide album. And it's just been awesome to be able to talk to you about all of it and really get into the mindset of how it all comes together.
Thank you. Means a lot.
Oh, not a problem. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
I hope we get to the States at some point to tour, but it'll probably be like one of those cruises, 70,000 tons of metal, or the what's the name of it? Something rock cruise.
Oh, Shipwrecked, I think is the one.
Yeah. So, but I think that's easier. Then you don't have to have the, all the paperwork done, because the show actually is out in the ocean. So,
very much.
We'd love to come to the States and play. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to see that happen, no matter the capacity. And until then, I'm very excited for all the fans across Europe that's going to be able to check you out over the course of the next year or so. And once again, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It was an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to you, and I hope you have a great rest of the press day with everything that's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.